Greetings and welcome to Ray Windsor's Leadership Systems, where we help consumers determine how to select the correct retailer, and we help retailers get selected by consumers. That is, after all, what a retailer wants to have happen. This is a 5-part series about choosing between online retailers and brick-and-mortar retailers. Most of us have had some experience online, and some of those experiences are good and some not so good, and most of us have had some experiences in a brick-and-mortar store, and some of those are good and some not so good. In this series, we want to try and help consumers learn how to make the best decision about which is the best place for them to purchase. You may recall in part 1, we talked about the ease of gathering information and accurate information. In part 2, we talked about the need to use the senses to make a decision about which product to purchase. This is part 3, where we're going to discuss the convenience, both long-term and short-term convenience, of making a purchase either in brick and mortar or online. It's important to remember that convenience doesn't go away just as soon as you've made the purchase. Convenience must be considered throughout the time that you expect to use that product. First, we're going to talk about the online convenience in the short term. The good thing about shopping online is a consumer can do it whenever he wants to, from wherever he wants to, in whichever dress he would like to do it. Another convenience point in the immediate is a consumer can gather information from many different sources on the internet without having to engage with the proverbial pushy salesman that we all know and love. On many internet sites, it's very easy to compare product features by clicking some boxes and making a compare selection. This helps to identify which product will have the features that you think are going to be good for you over the long use of that product. In many cases, you can compare products online very quickly that are not all available under the same brick and mortar roof, so that you don't have to take a bus or a taxi or drive your car from store to store to store. After you've done your research, you can make a decision to buy, again, at any time, or from any place, or in any manner of dress that you choose. Another good thing about the internet immediate convenience is oftentimes the shipping of that product is free. I believe that the internet retailers feel they have to compete with the brick and mortar by offering that as a objection overcomer so that you can have your product with a minimal cost. Online, there's often a sales tax advantage. What I mean by that is a person is making a purchase online from a retailer who is out of state. The online retailer is not required to collect a sales tax. However, it's a little known fact that the consumer is required by law to report that purchase and pay his local sales tax. I'm sure I do it all the time. I guess you do too. However, that's going to change. Internet retailers are quickly becoming required to collect the sales tax of the state in which the purchase is made. In other words, wherever they send that package to, wherever that credit card is billed to, that's the jurisdiction that will take charge of the sales tax, and the internet retailer is quickly becoming responsible for collecting that sales tax from you and paying that to the local sales tax organization. Now we should think about the longer term convenience. From an internet purchase, you have easily accessible records about the purchase that you made. Oftentimes, many internet retailers are terrific at after the sale follow-up. Lots of times, the internet retailer will send lots of valuable and useful information about you should try this because it fits well with your first purchase. Internet retailers often follow up with a satisfaction survey. This is good because you get an opportunity to give feedback without having to have personal relationship with the retailer. A thing I find very comfortable about internet purchases is an automatic reorder of consumables. For instance, printer ink, copy paper, pens and pencils. The internet retailer often keeps a record of your purchase habits and makes it very easy for you to one-button reorder. In a lot of cases, internet retailers will have a liberal return policy, which gives you a sense of comfort when you make a purchase, that if you have some sort of remorse about that purchase, it'll be fairly easy for you to return that product with the least amount of hassle. Hell, they even give you a return label in many cases, so that all you have to do is put the stuff back in the box, stick the label on the box, and call the UPS guy to come pick it up. Often, although not always, but often, the internet will offer a lower price, or at least the perception of a lower price. These things are all good convenience points, I think, for the internet purchaser. However, they must be weighed against convenience points that can be achieved when engaged in a brick and mortar purchase. So, in the store, the consumer has an opportunity to use his senses to make a decision about that product. You get to see it, feel it, taste it, touch it, listen to it. Oftentimes, these senses are terribly important decision points for whether to make a purchase or not. Let's say you're in buying new cushions for your outdoor patio furniture, and you just can't stand the smell of the plastic. If you're like me, you burn up those small blenders around about once every 4 months. To me, the sound of the motor in those blenders is terribly annoying, so I want to go plug one in and hear how it sounds before I make the purchase. In the store, you also get to examine very closely the appropriateness of application. For instance, you might be buying a ceiling fan. Will the flange cover the hole that's already in the ceiling? These kinds of immediate conveniences make it sometimes much more comfortable to buy in the store as opposed to looking at a picture on a screen and making a purchase. Now some discussion about the longer term considerations of convenience when you buy in the store. If you find a good salesman who's not that pushy guy, you have an opportunity to get eye-to-eye help with any problems or questions that the internet doesn't supply the answer for. Oftentimes, while you have to drive to the store, you have a much quicker turnaround time in the resolution of problems in the store. If I feel like I have to make a return because the product is not what I wanted or it was defective, in the store I can usually go in and effect that exchange right now. Online, that exchange may take a week. In the event that it is a return for a refund, in the store, I can see it happening immediately. Online, sometimes I have to wait for that do not reply email. And if you're like me, I am not entirely confident that sending an email will resolve a problem. In the store, I'm reasonably confident that I can capture someone's attention and put together a pathway toward a solution if I have any problems. One of the things I find annoying about an online transaction is the email that says, do not reply. To me, that feels like I'm receiving a stay away command from a policeman on a street corner. Many times when you walk into the front door of a store, you'll see a big sign on the store that says, price match guarantee. You can feel reasonably confident that in the store experience, the brick and mortar retailer, he wants to make sure that you are satisfied with the price that you're receiving in his store. Remember this. Remember the last time you bought that grill and you had to go back to the store 4 times to keep buying parts to make it work? In the store, if you connect with the right good salesperson, not that pushy clown, he's going to let you know what parts you need so that you only have to be in the store one time and you don't have to keep driving back and forth. Imagine if you made that purchase on the internet and had to go back and forth waiting 3 days for every part that you needed for all 4 times. It would take you 6 months before you could install that grill properly. And here's one of my personal favorites. In the store, you have somebody to yell at if you feel like you need to. While it's not often good form to do that in a store, the idea that you can do that if that's what it takes is comforting. So we've talked a little bit about the points that you should consider when you're thinking about making an online purchase, and make sure you take both the long-term and the short-term conveniences into consideration. And the same is true if you're considering a purchase from a brick and mortar store. There are lots of conveniences that happen in the short term, and there are lots of conveniences that happen in the long term that need to be accounted for. Thanks for watching. Be sure to tell all your friends about what we do here. Make sure to make comments. We'll be happy to reply. And then next Tuesday, look forward to what to think about price and value. Lowest price doesn't always equal best value.